I think there is one question that you can use to declutter your entire house. Every single item, from clothing to kitchen items to even sentimental stuff. And that question is it adding value? Is it fulfilling the purpose that I expected to when I bought it or invited it into my home? Is it adding value? Well, hi, I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom. I love talking about family minimalism. Our family has been minimalist for about 8 years now, which means we got rid of about 80% of our physical possessions, maybe even 85% now. And we only keep the things in our house that we use and that we enjoy and that add value to our life. We have let the other stuff go, and our house functions so well now. We enjoy being here. It's a peaceful place to be, and that's why I love sharing about this with you. And we've created over 500 videos doing so because I want this for you too. And I think there is one question that we can ask ourselves that really helps to shift how we're looking at this stuff so that it doesn't hang us up so much anymore. So like I said, that one question is it adding value? So at the very core of what physical items are is they're tools. They're tools to help us accomplish a purpose or to make our life a little bit better and easier. So we could look at clothing. At its most basic form, clothing is designed to cover our bodies so we can go out in public and not get a misdemeanor, right? And now in Minnesota, it's starting to get cooler out, to keep us warm. And so at the very basic core, clothing is a tool to cover ourselves and to keep ourselves warm. Now it's grown into more than that, right? But we're gonna talk about that in a few minutes. So if we look at our kitchen, are the things that I invited in, are they adding the value that I hoped? Again, if these are tools to help me cook and to provide nutrition for my family, is it providing that value? So many of us bought Instant Pots when that was all the rage. And for some of us, it is an effective tool. It helps us cook meals faster. There's recipes in it that we really enjoy making. And so we would say, yes, it is an effective tool in our kitchen. For some of us, it's somewhere in the middle. We use it to make hard-boiled eggs and sometimes to cook a whole chicken. But beyond that, it isn't as useful as a tool as I had hoped. And so where we often get caught up then is that I brought this tool in, I spent money on it, and now if I declutter it or let it go, I'm admitting that I was wrong in that purchase or that assumption that it was gonna help make my life easier, and I wasted money. And so that can be very difficult to accept. So two things that often hinder us from being able to look at this stuff in its most basic form and be able to declutter it if it's not helping us is that we spent money on it, but also the marketing that goes along with it. So I've shared before, my background is in marketing. I love marketing. I think it's like a fun puzzle because what someone does is they bring you a product like an Instant Pot and they bring it to a marketing company or agency and they say, you need to sell this. You need to tell everyone why it's so great and why it's gonna solve dinner time for every mom out there. And so then the marketing agency has this very simple formula that they use. It is find a need and then to show how your product will fit that need and will solve that problem. And so again, we take the Instant Pot and we say, good news, we know at the end of the day, you get home from work, you don't feel like cooking, you're tired, you don't have a lot of time. So here is our product and it solves all of that. It's easy, you can make so many things in one pot, it's simple to clean up, you set it, and then while it's cooking and doing its magic, you can go about other things. And so by the time dinner's ready, you have the whole kitchen cleaned up, the kids are bathed and happy, and then you're putting this beautiful meal on the table, right? And so they recognize the problem, and so then they promise that their product is gonna solve that problem. And for many of us then, we've talked about this before, if that product doesn't, like I have an Instant Pot and I use it sometimes, right? But it didn't solve dinner time for me. So then what do I assume? There's something wrong with me. I don't look at the marketing and say, oh wow, they got me, right? I say, darn it, what is wrong with me? Maybe I need to find new recipes for it. Maybe I need to ask my sister-in-law what she always cooks in it. And I need to try and figure out now how to force this tool, which is supposed to be making my life easier and better. I need to figure out how to make it work in my life instead of just saying, you know what? That tool was not effective in my life, and so I'm gonna let that tool go, let somebody else use it who it is effective, or they wanna try it out and test it out and see if it'll work in their life, instead of passing it on and saying, I tried it, it doesn't work. We hold ourselves hostage with all of this stuff cluttering up our spaces. And let's take it even a step further, because if you're a really good marketer, then you tie identity into this as well. And so you say, not only is this Instant Pot gonna help you make dinner quickly, it's gonna make you a better mom. It's gonna make you a better wife. Your family is gonna rave about the food that you are making in this Instant Pot. You are gonna look so good. And that's what most of us want, right? Like, they know our pain points, especially as women, right? They know all of our hopes and our desires and our failures and how we beat ourselves up. And so it makes it much more difficult to declutter, because not only now do I have finances and resources tied up in it, I also have identity. So now if my Instant Pot didn't work, I'm not just a bad cook or bad at learning new technology, I'm a bad mom. And do you see now how these things, these tools that are meant to make life better and easier, all of a sudden become a burden? So that's why I believe you could use this question, is it adding value to declutter your whole house? Because the whole purpose of stuff is to make our life easier. It's to make our life better. And if there are things that are not accomplishing that, why would we keep them? Because we know the cost now of keeping that stuff is that it takes our time and energy to manage it. I have to take my time on a weekend to organize my kitchen and to organize my garage and try and manage all of this stuff. Where if I would just be willing to recognize that these tools are no longer serving me in this season of my life, then I could let them go, I could free up that space, and now I could live in a home surrounded by things that I use every single day and that are adding value to my life. It completely changes our perspective on things, and I think that's why sometimes I feel misunderstood when it comes to our house, and people are like, oh, minimalist, like, wow, you must be roughing it. And I just want to like scream at the top of my lungs and be like, no, you don't understand. This is a very logical decision. I'm only managing stuff that we use and that adds value to my life. Why would I waste my precious time, the precious little time that we have, managing stuff that doesn't matter, that frustrates me, that stresses me out, that reminds me that I spent money on something that I'm not using, that makes me feel like a bad mom or a bad person? Why would I allow that stuff in my house and allow it to, it's one thing for it to come in and thought it was gonna do something great, but to not move it back out and not recognize that the season has passed or it never was effective, and to be willing to let that stuff go, why would I continue to use my precious time to manage stuff that is not adding value to my life? Now, again, I think this can even apply to sentimental stuff, because the purpose of sentimental stuff, how that is a tool, is to remind us of good, happy times, of people in our lives and seasons and events that were joyful and happy. And so how we look at that is that if we have too many of those things, it's a burden. But if I have curated a collection of these special things, it's a treasure. It's something I enjoy and I gladly manage and care for and lovingly review every once in a while. But when it's too much, it's a burden. So we begin to look at it and say, okay, if I'm looking at this stuff as tools, which is a tool that effectively helps me to bring back happy memories? So which of these are effective tools for remembering my loved one so clearly and happily, and which don't quite do that? They don't bring up happy memories, or it's simply gotten to be too much and a burden. And so if we can start to shift at stuff is just tools. How do we know that? Because we can't take any of it with us. We didn't come in with any of it, and we can't take any of it with us. So that means it's here to be used for a purpose, and then it's left behind. And so again, I know that we get hung up on the I spent money on it, but what if I could use it someday? And I want to tell you that for the last 8 years, I have been living with not keeping any stuff for someday. I have let stuff go if I am not using it right now in this season, and I have no regrets. So what if I get rid of the camping stuff and then 5 years from now, we decide we want to become campers again? I will look for used stuff, I will borrow it from friends, and maybe I'll buy a couple pieces again. But I'm gonna do it very sober-mindedly. I'm not gonna buy all the things. I'm gonna buy a few select pieces, and I'm gonna look back on the previous 5 years and say, you know what? I might have spent a little extra money, but I got to enjoy a peaceful house in the process. My family, my kids, my husband, they got to enjoy a peaceful house that's easy to tidy, easy to keep clean, and very enjoyable to be in. Okay. I'm gonna step down off of my soapbox now, but I get passionate about this because I know the freedom that comes from letting this stuff go and keeping it in its proper place. It is stuff that is meant to be used and nothing more. And so if we will let it go, there is so much freedom on the other side, and I really want that for you too. All right, so if you're nodding along, you're like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, then I hope we can spend some more time together. If you subscribe, and then I'll link to some other favorite videos along these same lines that I think can be really helpful, because it's hard. We get removed from something like this that like helps us to understand and look at our stuff differently. And then we're confronted by more marketing, right? Telling us how all these items are gonna make us look younger and thinner and be a better mom and a better person, right? And so we have to keep consuming this information that helps us to look at our stuff differently. Otherwise, it's so easy just to kind of fall back into it. And I know that, right? Because marketers are spending bazillions of dollars to come after you with this stuff. So again, no shame if you have bought things because you truly, honestly believe that it was gonna make things better. That's logical. We all do that. That is not wrong, and we get really hard on ourselves for the money we spent, but you have to remember, they were working really hard to get me to believe that. And sometimes the products work and they're great and we love them, and other times they don't live up to it. And so when we get to the other side, we just have to say, yep, it's not the tool to solve the problem like I was hoping it was gonna be, and that's okay. The best thing I can do now is to move those things out of my house so I don't have to look at it and be reminded of it, or try to think that I'm the problem and I need to somehow figure out a way to use this in my life now to justify that purchase. That is a fool's errand, right? So we move the stuff out and we just maintain and manage the stuff that is adding value to our life right now. So keep going. I know it can be hard and stressful and discouraging, but it can also be so freeing and liberating. And like I said at the beginning, I really want that for you too. I love you. I hope you have a really good day, and I'll see you again soon.